Please welcome our next speaker, Matt Snecker, a CTO. Today he will be presenting his session, Best of Both Worlds, Embedding Canvas Apps in Model-Driven Apps. Please stick around after Matt's session for a live Q&A.
Okay, hello everybody. This is Mats. I'm really excited to be here at DynamicsCon. I will present to you today Best of Both Worlds, Embedding Canvas Apps and Model-Driven Apps. And I want to say thanks a lot for voting for the session. I'm really excited to be here, as I said. And maybe a few words about myself. So I'm Mats Snecker. I live in Hamburg, Germany. I started in Dynamics about 10 years ago at K&K. I started at the Dynamics Navision back then. Nowadays it's Business Central, but 3 years ago I kind of made the switch and I changed to Dynamics CRM, as it was called. Shortly after it became the Power Platform, and a lot of stuff has happened in those years, and I'm really excited to be part of that. I work as a solution architect, as a developer consultant, so I kind of work around a bit of everything. And yeah, I'm happy to present today. If you want to get in contact, there is the chat. Get into that. We will have a Q&A at the end, but also you can always connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I recently started a blog. I would be really happy if you visit that one. But with that, let's go right into the session. So what will I do today? What do I want to show you? So first of all, I will talk a bit about the theory, kind of like what different app types do we have, what kind of visualizations you can use to solve problems for your customers. But I don't want to do that too long, so we will go into the demo pretty quickly, where I want to show you awesome stuff you can do with the Power Platform. As I said, afterwards there is a Q&A. I will be there answering all your questions. I'm happy if you can give me any feedback. What do you have for experiences, and what are your experiences in those areas? And also you can answer put in questions during the session. I will be there answering them. So yeah, with that I would say let's start. Okay, first of all, the theory, different app types. As I said, the title is Best of Both Worlds. So apparently there are different ways handling visualizations on the Power Platform. And I want to talk about a bit what options do you have. So let's see the Power Platform. So as I said, we have a lot of different ways of expressing ourselves, what kind of apps we are using. So this is, I guess you've seen this image before. Microsoft is using it a lot to explain the Power Platform. So here we have everything from Power BI for visualizations. We have Power Apps for the, let's say, classical apps. Power Automate for automation, virtual agents, the new kid on the block. It's all based on the data connectors, the AI builder, and the Dataverse as the powerful engine and backend. So today we're going to focus on the Power Apps. As I said in the title, I want to focus on Canvas and Model-Driven Apps. Obviously, there are a lot of other ways to talk about different parts. Today we focus on that one, especially Canvas and Model-Driven Apps. And there are obviously different ways in apps for portals. For example, we won't go into that today, but with Canvas and Model-Driven, we can do a lot. So let's see how that works. One thing before that, when we see the picture, also another image which is often used with Power Platform is Lego. I like it a lot because when you think about Power Platform being built off of building blocks, we have a lot of different building blocks. You saw them on the screen before, right? Power BI, Model-Driven Apps, Canvas apps, and so on. But that's not all. So Microsoft is delivering a lot of apps. But there's also the community building stuff every day, sharing stuff every day. There are awesome partners creating stuff. We have ISV, you have very great horizontal or vertical solutions. So it feels a bit like you have, like when you were a kid and you have this huge mass of Lego blocks. So you have a lot of building blocks to choose from. And that's actually, I think, nowadays one of the challenge to think about what building block to use when. Because obviously the building blocks in itself as a standalone, they are great. Power Apps, Model-Driven Apps are great. Canvas apps are great. But we want to be better than great. Because not every block is fitting every solution. And nowadays, when you have customers or you have a challenge you're facing and want to solve with a Power Platform, not every tool is fitting for each challenge and each problem you're facing. So often it's the case that you have to take different building blocks, put them together, and make something new. I like the term maker a lot. Microsoft is using it to describe kind of like the people working with the Power Platform. It's not just developers or like hard coders. It's makers. And maker, one, I think, aspect that's really important is that you know different building blocks and know when to use them. And in my opinion, in the most cases, if you combine different building blocks, then it's when you create really awesome solutions. So that's also how I came up with this topic, or why I'm really enthusiastic about it, because I think combining these blocks, that's where you really can create great things. With that, let's look into that. And I want to start with like the big building blocks Microsoft is giving us. And obviously, I mean, I've talked about them a few times. There are Canvas app and ModelDriven app. It's like the main apps. I also put PCFs in here, Power Platform Control Framework. I want to talk about that a bit because I think that's also a nice addition, although it will not be the main focus, but I wanted to add it here. So maybe let's start with differences Canvas, ModelDriven. What is it exactly? So the ModelDriven app, those are like, I would say, the classical apps. As I said, I started with Dynamics CRM back then. Those were the apps and they became ModelDriven apps. So nowadays, all the first-party Microsoft apps, they are ModelDriven apps, but you also can create custom ModelDriven apps, and they always are based on the same philosophy. You start with the data. So you have tables, you have a relationship between these tables, and then you have ModelDriven app as kind of like a framework to display that data. As you see here in the screenshot, it's really easy to get a nice looking app which has a consistent look and feel, which fits the Office feel, and it's very easy to extend, to customize. Then again, it's a very structured way of doing things. So you can, as you see in the screenshots, you can have visualizations in there and you can create like creative solutions, but you always have some kind of limits. And that's by design. It's a framework which should give you some structure. But then again, it's really easy to get started with. And that's why I put down there. It's also for Maker. I think that sometimes I have the feeling that ModelDriven apps seem like complex, but it's really easy to get started with them. So don't put them off too easy. You have a bit of structure. You can't be too creative, but it's really easy to put up a nice looking app quickly. Then on the other side, we have Canvas apps. Canvas apps came up with Power Apps, and they do things differently. They don't start with the data necessarily. They more start with the design. Think about PowerPoint. You have this blank canvas, where I think the name is coming from, and it's quite fitting. So you have the blank canvas where you can create your own visualizations, your own logic on top of that, just as you would do in PowerPoint. So you put the visualizations on top, and you can create these pixel perfect designs. Now, if you're like me, I'm a developer, and I would say not maybe that gifted with design. I took this screenshot for this. So when you create Canvas apps, it's also really easy, I would say, to create not that good looking apps because you really have to think about that. But that's something you get used to. And there are people, this is something I took from the community, a screenshot, which are really can create amazingly looking apps. And I don't want to say it's just beautiful looking, which it is here, but it's just not like to look good for the design, but also to look in a way and give the user an experience, a UX, that the design follows the function, so that you can design exactly how the user wants to enter data. For example, one common complaint, which is based that ModelDriven apps can be quite complex. So they have a lot of buttons in there which you can't really remove, and there's a lot of stuff you probably don't need. With Canvas app, you can also slim it down and create really specific apps. For example, here, like a sign-up sheet, where the user only has the relevant information fields. So there's no distraction going on. And you can go even further with more design, less clutter. And this is a great way. So you can be really creative in Canvas apps and you can create amazing things in there. But you have to think maybe about different parts than what you have to do in a ModelDriven app. But still, this is great for makers. What you see is what you get editor. You can get started really quickly. You can learn a lot. There is a learning curve, but it's really fun to go along with that. So those are like the main apps. And I wanted to add here Power Apps Control Framework, as I said, PCFs. So what's PCF? It's even newer. I think it came up like last year and out of preview. So those are like smaller components you can use either in ModelDriven apps or in Canvas apps. As you can see here in the screenshot, maybe you want to have a map or you want to have some different kind of chart or you need different buttons. So those are a great way to go if you kind of like hit the limit in either Canvas app or ModelDriven app with what the default is offering you. Because the nice thing here is you don't have to recreate them all the time. I put here PCF Gallery. It's an awesome community-driven site where people upload created components where you can get inspiration. You can even use some of them. And to use them, that's really easy. As a maker, you just have to download it and then you can use it as you would use other components of the platform. To create them, that's a bit more difficult. I would say you probably need a developer or somebody who knows JavaScript, TypeScript, and all that kind of stuff. But as again, awesome community sites like PCF Gallery, there you can get a lot which you can use out of the box, basically. I just want to mention it because this can be a great way to enhance your apps without having to reinvent the wheel, let's say it like that. But today, I want to go more into how you can create your own visualizations using Canvas apps and ModelDriven apps. And this is where combining apps and visualizations comes into play. So great thing about the platform, Lego. The nice thing here is we have solutions for everybody. Basically, no matter where you are in your journey, or if you are a developer, if you're a maker, there is different ways of handling these kinds of things, and you can pick and choose the one which fits you the best, or which fits the problem best you're facing. For example, like the simple things, which are really easy, we are really native in the platform. For example, embedding Power BI dashboards. Also, what I want to show today is embedding Canvas apps. Then a bit more complex it gets when you want to embed Canvas apps as an iframe, or maybe you want to use the PCF gallery. You can also embed Power BI directly on forms. And those are all great topics which we can discuss another time. Also like the pro dev things today, but I want to focus on the Canvas apps. So I want to show you two ways how you can embed Canvas apps. The one is embedding Canvas apps, and the other one is using iframes to embed them, which are two different approaches, which each have advantages or disadvantages. So let's look into that. First one is embedding Canvas apps, the native way, I would say. So what I have here is a screenshot of a model-driven app. You see here the model-driven app, you see an account. So basically the account form for one of the accounts. And on that, there is a Canvas app embedded in it. So we have the structure of the model-driven app, and just a part of the form, it's replaced by a Canvas app. This is really great because it's natively supported by model-driven apps. We will see that later on. It's directly in the form editor. You don't have to do some funky XML changes. You just use the form editor you're used to and can go along with that. It's also supported in solution, so it's very easy to move that from one environment to the other if you're using dev, test, and so on environments. There is some problems with flow at the moment with the solution, but Microsoft fixing that. Well, I can tell you from experience, it's really great being able to move these customizations using solutions. You can create new apps when you do that. We will do that later on. You can also reuse existing ones, which is nice if you already have good working Canvas apps there. The biggest advantage here is that the Canvas app we have here, which is running on top of the account form, this example, it can actually access the context of where it's running. So the Canvas app knows I'm on the account form, and it knows which account is displayed at the moment. And it can work with that data. So we can take the data, for example, here, and use it to filter down the contexts for the company AdventureWorks, which is used here. We can also interact with the form. I will show that later on. Refresh the form, save the form. We can open other forms in the ModelDriven app. So we can use the Canvas app directly in the user experience. And this is also where I would recommend to use it a lot. Because often, as I said, ModelDriven apps work quite fine. They are great for a lot of things. But sometimes it's just that one part doesn't feel right, or where this list and form thing is not really working well. And that's where embedding Canvas apps can have a great advantage of offering a simple way in the structure you already have and solving a specific thing without having to recreate everything in Canvas apps. That can be quite nice. Especially, for example, if you're like me and you're not that, as I said, gifted regarding design. Often when you just have to design a smaller thing in Canvas app, it's easier to do that than if you have to design the whole Canvas app and think about navigation and that kind of stuff. Which brings us to the next thing, the iframe Canvas apps. Again, I have my ModelDriven app as a host. But then here I have the Canvas app more as a bigger app integrated completely in a ModelDriven app. And it basically works the way that we here in the side menu, you have it as a separate menu item. So if the user clicks on it, basically your Canvas app is starting and it shows up there. How do you do that? Basically in backend, you create a web resource, which you then add as in the side menu of the ModelDriven app. So one time you have to create the web resource, you have to juggle around a bit with HTML and JavaScript. But then again, so for example, what I show you today, that's not something I came up. Then again, but our great community, I put the blog down there. So people have great ways of how to do that and have examples you can use and reuse in your solutions. Same thing you can see, it is supported in solutions, so you can easily move that to different environments. One drawback you have to think about, this Canvas app embedded in this way, it does not know the context of a record because it's not running in one context of a record, but it is running in the context of the whole app. So we use it a lot in our projects to embed like full-size apps, which the user should have easy access to. Because in our experience, once the user is used to one ModelDriven app, they don't like to change the app a lot. So it's often easier to put in the Canvas apps directly in the model app where the user is used to it. Okay, but then I don't want to bore you a lot with talking about this stuff. I would rather show you. So I would say let's move on to the demo. For that, I created a small demo app, the Demopalooza, and it's basically like a really simple model-driven app, like the basic thing you can get when you start here. It starts basically with accounts. I have accounts and activities in here. And if I open Microsoft here we see the standard account form we get in a model-driven app. So we have all the fields we are used to, we have the timeline here, and a few tabs. So one thing which we did actually for a few customers which asked us, it was the timeline here, which is great. You can do a lot of stuff with it, but it can be quite hard to read. For example, I have here a lot of tasks, and they all have more text, but I have to click inside of one of the activity to actually see the whole text. And a requirement was, okay, I want to have it more in a readable way, that I can kind of like have it as a report, as a printout, and I just read it down without having to click and see kind of like what is happening in history in a written form. And that's kind of what I want to use as an example to show you, well, let's embed a Canvas app here, which is showing us this data in a different way, in a more visual way. So to do that, I will jump in the backend, the Maker portal. I have a small solution here, Demo Dynamics-Con, where we will start. And as I said, we want to start on the account form. So I will go to the account and I will start editing the account form. Yeah, here we have the form, the standard form. Let's edit this form. And you remember, as I said, embedding Canvas app, it works natively in the platform. So it's all done here in the editor. So let's see it. Yes. As you can see, the nice thing Power Platform, it's most places is what you see is what you get. Same thing here. What I want to do now, I will add a new tab up top here. I call it Activities. We will hide this label. So what I want to do, I want to use this tab as a full size where I host basically my Canvas app. What you need to know, when you want to put in a Canvas app into one of the forms in a ModelDriven, you always need to put the Canvas app on top of a field. It doesn't really matter which field it is. Microsoft recommends to use a field which is always filled, so it shouldn't be null. Basically, what I use the primary key here, account name. This is always filled. I'm not doing anything with the field. I'm just hiding the label here because I want to have it full screen. So what I can do now, when I save this, I could go here with components. So basically, you go in the properties of the field you added, and there you select, I want to display it as a Canvas app. Then again, this is one of the areas where the new editor, you see, we have Canvas app here. But there's actually one option missing, the option to create a new app. So what I want to show you is, and this is the switch to classic. I don't like the button a lot, but there are a few areas where it's nice, or well, it's more functionality actually in the old editor. So for now, let's jump into the old editor. I'm pretty sure Microsoft will probably add the function soon to the new editor. For now, let's go into that. So what do we want to do? We created the new tab. We added a new field on the tab. And now we want to tell the form to use, instead of the field, not to display the field, but to display a Canvas app instead. A Canvas app which we have not yet created. So what we will do, we go in there, create the app, and then kind of like link the form and the app together. So also nice thing about the classic editor, sometimes takes a bit to load, but let's do that again. So you see, this is, maybe for those who don't know, this is the old, the Dynamics CRM editor. But what we see here, we see the new Activities tab created. I have my account name field. I go on Properties, and here under Controls, I can add a control, and I will select Canvas app again. That should be displayed in all tabs. And you see, it puts an app name, app ID is empty as it was before in the new editor, but here I have the Customize button. And the Customize button is actually the one I'm looking for, because this will create a new Canvas app and will already link the Canvas app to my ModelDriven app, which I will show you in a second. So this is quite helpful to quickly create the app. As I said, you can also reuse an existing app. There will like 2 more manual steps you have to do. It's not that much more complicated, but often it's easier to just go here. Now you see a new app is created, and well, helpful as it is, it already puts some stuff in here. I would always recommend to delete that because we want to start fresh. Then next step is give it a name. Let's call it app activities, logo, color, and really important, the screen size, because the screen size you set up here within the Canvas app, it's actually the one kind of controlling how big is it later on in the ModelDriven form. So you don't control the size of the Canvas app within the ModelDriven app form, but you control it here within the Canvas app. And it takes a bit of kind of like figuring out what to do. For example, if I want to have an app as a full tab, I used to this size, 1500 times 600. But it depends on how big your app should be, where you want to embed it. Also, one setting you should always check when you go to settings in the Canvas app, advanced settings. It's here under experimental features at the moment, is the optimize embedding appearance. This should be always turned on. When you use the way I'm showing, it should be turned on by default. But if you use an existing app, make sure that you turn it on. Otherwise, it looks a bit funky when you embed it because it's not like really the white background. So it works a lot better if you do it like this. Yes. Oh, so yeah, we created this one. App activities 2. I'm going to save it now. What it does when I save it, basically it creates the new app. As I was in a solution, it will also be in my solution. So, but let's now jump to design mode of the Canvas app. So what can we actually do here? One thing, you see, it created screen, which is basically every time you create a new Canvas app. But what's different here is that we have this control model-driven form integration. This one is only added when you link in Canvas app to a model-driven form. You can't put it in manually, so you have to link it once with the form to get this control. And this control is basically where all the magic happens. All the embedding magic is done by this control. So this is used so we can access the data of the record we're running on. We can access the context, and we can also interact with the form we embedded on. Let me show you how it works. So basically, what we can put in here, as I said, I want to access the data. So let's start with it simple. We want to put the account name on here. Let's make it fat. I don't want to have text, but instead I'm going to use model-driven form integration dot and dot item. That's the item I'm running on, the context. So when I put item dot, now you see I see all the fields which are on the account, which is quite nice because when I select account name, now I can display the account name here. And even better, it works for every kind of field we have in there. For example, I can also put in the image here. And again, as I said, model-driven form integration, we will use that a lot. So that's, as I said, the magic control. Item and I think it's default image. Yeah. I put the default image here. It adds me the default image. So, I mean, until now, the app is not really doing anything. But either way, I want to save it and publish it to show you how does it look like in the app we're creating. Always remember, don't just save, but also publish. If you just save, you're not going to see any changes here. So let's jump back into our demo app. And, oh, no, I forgot one thing. Back here, I go back to the tab, our form. You see, as soon as I save the app, the Canvas app, the Dynamics automatically added here the app name and the app ID. I do want to save this one. And same here, I'm going to save it and I'm going to publish it because now the link is created between this field in the form and the newly created Canvas app. So once we've created and published that, we can close this editor. We don't need to touch it again. All changes from now on will be done only in the Canvas app. So only the initial link has to be done here. Afterwards, it can be closed. And we can reopen our app. Let's look into accounts. Pick Microsoft again, the one we had before. And we see, okay, the new tab activities is here. And if I click on the tab, you see it's loading. And you see it automatically has the size here, which I defined. And then you see, okay, we got the data in here. Let's do a quick double check. Let's open the competition. And you see the Canvas app, it's not hard-coded to anything, but it knows which account it's running on and is displaying the data accordingly. Okay, let's jump back into the app. As I said, we can just make changes in the app, save it, publish again, and it will show up in our ModelDriven app. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to display all the activities which are belonging to this company. So what I will create is a gallery. And as I said, I want to have them in a really readable way. So I want to focus on the description text of the activities. For that, there's an awesome gallery here, the blank flexible heave, because you can imagine in each activity we have different text length in there. So I can't really work with fixed length, but the flexible heave gives me an option to make that a bit more dynamic. Let's put this one in here. And again, it asks me the first thing always with controls in Power Apps Canvas is what item should I display? And maybe you guessed it, but we are going to use model-driven form integration again, because that's where all the data is coming from. Basically, we want to display here. and I'm going to item again. So now I'm linked to the account, but this time I don't want to display single fields, but instead I want to use the connections. And the nice thing here with the integration is that this is already in, because it's in the Dataverse, the connections are there. I can also access all the relationships the account has and use that data in here. So for this, I'm going to use item, which is an account, and I use the activities of that one. And now once we add something in here, this one gets smaller, we'll put in the label, and this item now is the account, and I can, it's not the account, it's the activities, sorry, because our data source is item.activities, so all the activities belonging to the account. And we can put in the subject here. Yes, so we get the subject in here. And well, I can now do the usual styling here. Make it bold. And we can add all the other fields we want to have in here. For example, I want to have the date because I want to see when was something happening. And I want the date when it was closed, actual end. And this is where as I said, the creativity or the formatting of Canvas apps come in. You can do all the things you do in Canvas apps. For example, here I want to format the time. I don't want to see the time, I just want to see the date. So let's put in this one here, short date. Make it aligned to the right-hand side. Great. So, but I said the important part I want to have in here is the description text. So I'm going to put in the description here. This item from description. So now we have the description. One thing, it has the control here, auto heave. And this is the one which is doing the magic in order to rearrange it a lot. So as you see, as soon as I click on auto heave here, it resizes to the correct heave to display all the description text I have in here. And then maybe just change a bit the navigation here so it looks a bit nicer. Okay, so I want to check it out. So I did some modifications in my Canvas app and I want to check it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the app again. I'm going to publish it and afterwards go into my ModelDriven app to see the effect. Kind of what is it looking like? Is it the way it's supposed to be? Yeah, let's give it a second here. Also, sometimes, maybe as a heads up, sometimes when you save and publish, it takes maybe a bit of time. And also if your browser is caching a lot, sometimes you need to clear your cache in order to see the changes you did. In most cases, actually, at least for me, it's because I forgot to publish, but it can also be the browser cache, which is kind of like showing us an old version of the app. So I go back here. As you see, it loads again. And remember, I didn't change anything at the form. I just changed something in the Canvas app. And now I got here my kind of like activity feed with the description text fitted so that it's all readable. Okay, then let's jump back in the app. Let's do next changes. One thing I maybe forgot, let's say I want to have it sorted here. So this is also something you can do. For example, I can put in sort by columns. I want to sort on the actual end. And I want to make it descending to have like the most current one on top. Yes, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so one thing, now we are displaying data in different ways than the ModelDriven app is able to display data. As I said, we can also use our fancy ModelDriven app form integration control here for more things than that. We can actually interact with the ModelDriven app. For example, one thing I want to have is when I click on an activity here, I want to see the ModelDriven app form for that item. So I want to see what it's about. Let's do that. So one thing I will put in here, this is something maybe you have to know in Dynamics. Activities can have multiple types. There can be a phone call, a meeting, or a task. And I want to display that one here. When I go to icon, I created here a small formula, which I will put in here. Basically, what is this one doing? Oh, one thing I forget. To do that, I have to add the actual entities I want to reference here. I want to reference task or phone calls because those are the activities I'm using in my app. I have to reference them here once because once I've done that, I can use this formula here and this is type, this item task is checking basically the activity I put in there. Is it of type task? Is put in this icon? If no, put in the other icon. Well, in this example, I'm only using tasks and phone calls. So now I'm displaying what type it is, which is basic Canvas app functionality. What I want to do now in the onSelect. When the onSelect, if I click on that, I want to jump to the correct form. So I want to jump back to the form, ModelDriven app form. I also prepared this one. And the first part is the same. So it checks if it's a task. Then you see we're using the ModelDriven form app, the ModelDriven form integration again. But this time we're using a function. It's called navigate to main form, which is a great function because here I can tell them, okay, which entity I want to go to task, which form, the task form, and I want this item.activity. That's the ID of the activity I want to open. Same goes for the second part. Here is the phone calls. So if it's a phone call, please ModelDriven form aggregate, navigate to main form, phone call this activity. Yeah, that's because before we do that, I want to show you one more thing. What other functions are available for this integration? Let's do it here on the picture. When I go here, ModelDriven form app integration, and here it already suggests all the different things it can do. So I can navigate to a main form, which I did in that example. I can navigate to a view, like to a list. I can open a quick create form. I can refresh a form. I can save a form. So that's all the interactions I can do. So there's a lot of things, especially also the refresh form is nice. If your Canvas app is updating data, for example, of that record, you can use the ModelDriven form integration.refresh to show the data also in the ModelDriven app. For now, maybe as an example, we want to create a new task when I click on the image. Okay, same again, I save it and afterwards I publish it to check the changes I did. And this is actually something I really like about this workflow. So once I set up the connection between the ModelDriven app and the Canvas app, I can focus completely on the Canvas app and get it in that style and get the functionality in there I want to have. I don't have to kind of like do big deployments every time or have to figure out the reconnection again. I can just, after it's set up, I can just do my changes. I can just do the work and see how it looks like in the end. So again, saving, publishing, really important. Let's not do, we won't forget that. And afterwards, let's go back to our demo app. We go to accounts, Microsoft, the one we had before. We still have our activity type here. And now, yeah, what we see here now, it's loading next to the subject of the activity. It shows me the icon. And as you see, when I click on it, it will open the activity form. So I jump to a different space in the ModelDriven app. And so that's a great way of using the Canvas app in the flow of the user. Because often when you show details in this Canvas app, you probably want to go at some point to the point there. Let's check phone call. And we see, yep, I'm landing in the phone call, which is shown in the list there. Then again, what we also did, we kind of like linked up the image here to create a quick create, to open up the quick create, and you see it's opening up. This white copy most discounts. And I can create a new task. So this is a great way how you can interact with the Canvas app and the ModelDriven app. Okay, so this is basically embedding a Canvas app onto a form. And well, as I said, the disclaimer at the beginning, I'm not a designer, as you can probably tell. But if you spend a bit more time and you can really fine-tune how it looks like and what it does, and you can create amazing apps which enrich the user experience you have here on the form. Okay, so next thing I want to show you is how can you embed these standalone Canvas apps. So when you create a Canvas app or you need a Canvas app which is like a bigger screen and you want to have it in the menu as you, let's go back here. I want to show you where I want to put it. So here on the left-hand side, that's called the side menu in ModelDriven apps. So at the moment, I only have activities and accounts in here. And let's assume I already created a Canvas app which is belonging to this one and users want to use alongside these lists, and I want to add it here. And this is what I can do here. And as I said, to do that, we need to create a web resource because the web resource is something we can add to the side menu. So let's create a new web resource here. Okay, we call it something like company app. Yeah. The type, it's really important to put HTML in here, text editor, source, and you can put it yourself, or as I do, I Google the stuff, I find somebody smarter than I am who already found a solution for this and put it in here. This is the one where I put the link in the PowerPoint. So go check the blog out. There are some cool solutions on here. So basically, what does this HTML do? It will create an HTML, basically which has an iframe in here. And then there is some JavaScript, and the JavaScript is calling the Dynamics 365 Web API to retrieve the URL of the Canvas app I have created. So what Canvas app? Let's check that one out. So what I have done before here, I created a company Canvas app. Let's play it. It's also like a really simple Canvas app. So what I did here, basically I'm connecting to the Dataverse, I'm reading all the companies, and if I click on it, it opens the form. So normally you would create probably some fancier Canvas apps, but for the demo, I want to have like these huge company logos in here. So this is what I want to embed here in the web resource. And this template I took here, the only parameter I need to put in here is the name. So basically, when I go back to my solution here, this name, the technical name. Let's put that one in here. Add name here. I'm going to save this. And as always, with ModelDriven, you save it and you publish it. Don't forget that, otherwise we can't edit here. Okay, next step. I don't want to have it standalone, but I want to add it to my demo producer, to my ModelDriven app. So I go here to the side menu, the sitemap. And you see this sitemap is basically what we had on the left-hand side, the navigation. And below accounts, what I want to add, a new sub-area it's called, type web resource. And I called it company app web, the web resource. Yeah, here it's the company app web resource I just created. I want the companies, maybe even put a small emoji in to make it look a bit cooler. So I created and published a sitemap. I will close this one here. And now when we go back to our ModelDriven app, where the sitemap I just modified is used, what we would see here, let's open it again. Also here the cache can be sometimes a problem. Yeah, after a second open, I see the companies I just put in there. And now when I click here, what it does, it loads the Canvas app full screen in here. So whatever I created as a Canvas app, I have now running inside my ModelDriven app, which makes it really easy for users to access this app. Right, so and again, because I added some functionality in here, this still works. Okay, maybe for Canvas apps, you have to think about use cases. I wanted to show you maybe a bit more advanced use case. And so what I want to do, you remember like the first slide I was showing, Power Platform, they also have Power BI in there. And Power BI also is a great way of enhancing your solution, your app. And what I did create was here an app, Power BI Report Selector. And the idea of this Power BI Report Selector, it's a Canvas app, and Canvas app has a control called Power BI Tile. The Power BI Tile control in Canvas apps is used to display a Power BI report. And normally you have to hard code basically which report do you want to use. And so I thought, well, it might be cool if I can kind of like add to a table what reports do I really want to show. And this is the resulting Canvas app from that. So on the one hand, I have here a gallery, which goes to a custom table I created, Power BI Reports. Power BI Reports, the table only has a name. And here on the left-hand side, I have the control called Power BI Tile. And the Power BI Tile needs to have a link. It's the data. And you see here, I'm using the gallery, the selected one, the link, with resulting that whatever record I select here, I do get a different Power BI report. And this is something really cool because a lot of our customers ask us kind of like to add Power BI reports to Dynamics and or to the ModelDriven app, and they always are creating new reports. They will be really active in that, and they have people using Power BI, and they want to display these reports directly in Dynamics. Setting up an app like this, all we have to do now to add a new report is to add data to this custom table I created. Here we see the data. I have my different Power BI reports. If I want to create a new Power BI report, I would just add record. So in itself, it's, I think, a pretty decent app, but it's even better if I can have that app within my ModelDriven app where all my users are working. So what I did, basically the same steps I did before with the company Canvas app. So you see here, I already created a web resource with the link there, because I don't think it's that fun to see twice. But what I will do, I will add that here to my sitemap designer again. Which also I think shows you a bit of the capabilities, because you can add as many as many apps as you want, basically, to this. Regards. Save it, publish, as always, in ModelDriven apps. And what I expect now is I'll close this one, close my app, and I open my Demopalooza app again. And today cache is not on my side. I open it again. So what I did, I added a second Canvas app here. And now I see, yeah, I still have my original Canvas app in here, which I added as one menu item. But now I also got the second menu item here. And now I used a Canvas app embedded in a ModelDriven app, which is itself embedding Power BI. As I said, remember all the building blocks? This is where you can get really creative of linking them together. So here I now have my different reports, which I can display here, and it's a Power BI. So I can use all the interactivity I want here. Yeah, and with that, I will look to the time. I think it's time to do the Q&A. I hope you had a lot of fun. I hope I could show you some new stuff, maybe some inspiration. But I'm also with Q&A, I'm really eager to get some feedback from you. How do you think this is this something you could use for your solutions? So yeah, let's hear and let's get together and discuss that. Thanks a lot.
Hey everybody, Mats here. I hope you had a great time. I saw there was some discussion going on in the chat. If you have any questions, please let me know. And yeah, one of the ways, one thing I'm really eager to know is if you think, or if you have done something like that, if you think this is something you can use in projects. And so if you have something like that or any more questions, please put them in chat. I will look at that. And yeah, I would start with some of the questions which were already there during the session. So there was one question about linking existing apps with. So you already have a Canvas app, and then later on you decide to put that in a ModelDriven app, and you can do that. Actually, you do it quite the same way you would when you build a new Canvas app. Remember, you saw on the screen where you, in the old classic editor, you go on a field, go to the properties, add the Canvas app as a component, and then the component you can add app ID or an app name. You can actually do that manually. So I was clicking on customize, and it would create a new app. But what you can do is you can put an existing app ID in there. Once you do that and you click on customize, it will open your existing Canvas app, and it will put in this model-driven form integration control for you. So you can reuse those apps. I have done it a few times and worked okay. Didn't work always perfectly, but I think in general it works. And yeah, my experiences, I've been embedding Canvas apps for maybe a year now. It got more and more stable all the time. So Microsoft is always improving that, making it more better, making it better, fixing bugs. So that should be quite good to do. Okay, yeah, another question was about how can we use, like if I have an entity with lookup values, how can you use those lookup values, or how can you use the lookup value to display data from that entity? I know what the exact example or question, but think about if you have a contact, and the contact obviously has a lookup value to the account, so it's company, and you want to display maybe the address of the company. You can do that. So what you can use in Canvas app, because you have the account field with the account ID, and you can use the lookup function. The lookup function basically queries the database, and you can use the account ID you have in that field, saying like, I want to have an account with this ID, and then you get all the fields of that account and can reuse them in your app. That always works. Sometimes, well, like the native integration, when you say like this lookup field dot and so on might not work, but with the lookup function, you usually get all the data you want to have there. Yeah, then there was some discussion about licensing, and Joel nominated himself to be the license MVP, so I would forward all questions to him. But yeah, I think one very important thing, when Microsoft announced this functionality or the capability of embedding Canvas apps in ModelDriven apps, that was, I think, around the time when they also announced these app passes. So where everybody got conscious about like how many apps do I actually use, because the license only is allowing me for 2 apps. And that was, in my point, a quite important and a valuable thing that Microsoft said, okay, no, when you embed a Canvas app within a ModelDriven app, it still counts as only 1 app. Because otherwise, you couldn't use the app pass probably a lot, or couldn't really use it with embedding apps. But for Microsoft, the ModelDriven app, that's the app the user is using, and the Canvas app is embedded in that, and that's done by the license. Then again, I'm not the licensing MVP. That's Joel. Sorry for that, Joel. But it can change. But that's my understanding at the moment of the licensing. And we have it at a few customers running like this, and it's working well. Okay. Let's see. Can you add a Canvas app as a button to trigger on a record? Warp your question. I mean, what we often use is kind of like to use the Canvas app, kind of like to have a lot of different buttons, like big buttons. Also, if you use it on a phone, then you can use the Canvas app where you have, like, as I said, with UI-wise, only maybe a few buttons. You click on that and trigger, for example, a flow or something like that. Is that what you're referring to with your question? Please let me know. Because I feel like the Canvas app can be a great way of enabling such an interface for the user to start different actions, also maybe with some context in there. So that's definitely a use case you can do with the Canvas app. And Chad is asking about the coolest thing, what you can do with the ModelDriven form integration. Well, I think I couldn't say. I mean, we've done a few things. I like the reporting stuff a lot. I feel like Power BI is such a huge topic. And also, I feel like the Power BI integration story at the moment in model-driven apps is not that great, or that, especially if you want to deploy it as managed solutions. So this is something we're playing around with the moment, of using the Canvas app kind of like as a container to embed Power BI, and maybe also to embed different Power BI reports. So one use case we have in mind is, think about you have the account form and you want to embed a Power BI report on there. But it should change kind of like depending on who's looking at it. Maybe if the sales manager is looking at the account, he wants to see a different report than when the sales rep itself is looking at it. With the standard model-driven form integration, I would probably can do it with some funky JavaScript. But I feel like in the Canvas app, it's really easy to change kind of like what Power BI report you want to have there. So I think that's a pretty cool use case. Then again, the great thing about this Canvas app, it really opens up a whole new field of things you can do. Maybe you remember in the PowerPoint, I showed some of the amazing apps people in the community have built. And I feel like it's like an endless possibilities you can do there. So I wouldn't, like I would say, I couldn't feel like saying this is the coolest thing I can imagine. There would be a lot more cooler things to do. Yeah, and so that's what maybe if somebody has already done something like that, let us know. Kind of, it's I think the really great ideas come if we inspire each other. So basically, like building up on the ideas others have, and then we can have really amazing stuff in there. So the Canvas app for scheduling. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can really add it as a button in the ribbon, the Canvas app. So it always has to be on like if you use the standard Microsoft integrations, you have to have it as based on a field in the form, but you can't do it yet like as a ribbon thing, kind of click on a ribbon to open it. What I think you could do, like with I think like the last release waiver, there was the opportunity to open a form like in this model way, right? You click on a link and it's opening a new form, but not full screen, but only parts of the screen. You could open a form like that, which has only a Canvas app on it. I think that could simulate something like this, right? So you would build a ribbon button using same JavaScript, opening a form, standard model-driven app form, and maybe like not the full size, but 50% of the size. And on that form, you have only a Canvas app embedded. So that might be something which could work. I haven't done that myself, but I feel like this, yeah, like using these new ways of opening model-driven forms together with the Canvas apps, then you could have maybe also a replacement for like the dialogues we had back then in the old days. I think that's something you could do there. Okay, let me see. Any more questions, or did I miss someone? I'll scroll up here. So for the moment, I don't see any questions. So, oh yeah, wait, there was one thing. As I mentioned, I'm really happy to share the solution. I think also it will be like the presentation, all that will be shared. I will put in the link for my blog, and I will later on just upload the solution there. And also, I will put in my Twitter mail account. Please get in contact if you have any questions about this. I think it's a really cool topic, and I would love to get in contact. As I said, I feel like the great ideas are still out there, and if we talk about it, we will get to them and do that. Okay, chat is sharing. Great. Here it's a proof of concept, Canvas app embedded. Oh yeah, to do real time, where instead you would have saved the app. Yeah, I feel like this is also, as I said, the ModelDriven app. I love ModelDriven apps. That's where I'm coming from. I feel like you can use them to quickly build nice looking apps, but there are some limitations which you can't really work around or can't work around, but in really like a really developer way. And the Canvas apps, also the example chat just posted in chat, they open up a lot of opportunities to use the framework to build the basic app. And then in the places where it really matters, like the important use cases, the important processes people do in this app, there you can embed a Canvas app and say, okay, this process, I can actually make that one better. And then you just have like the small Canvas app and you focus on the one thing this Canvas app should accomplish. And all the other app stuff, like navigation, all that kind of stuff, that belongs to the ModelDriven app. That's where the ModelDriven app is really good at. You don't have to reinvent the wheel for that. But you can focus on the key areas in your app where you feel like, okay, this is where the user spends a lot of time, or where he's often, and where he has to do a lot of clicks. Those are, I feel like, the places where Canvas app and embedded Canvas app can bring huge potential, because then you can make the life of the users a lot easier. And they will love you for it if you have a great UI there, which helps them to do the process they do, and all backed at this great Power Platform we have. So that's, I think, the great way if you use this. That's why I call it the session best of both worlds. Because I really truly believe in that, that you can't just say it's ModelDriven apps or Canvas apps. If you want to have an amazing solution, you kind of want to use both of that. Oh yeah, chat. Yes, scaling the Canvas app or making sure it's sized properly. Gotta admit, that's I think the hardest challenge at the moment with the Canvas apps, and if you embed them. So what I did a bit is playing around with the responsiveness of Canvas apps. So you can definitely use that. But then again, I gotta admit, I haven't the perfect solution or the golden solution for that one. At the moment, most of the Canvas apps I built kind of like are optimized to be viewed on a desktop, or they're optimized to be viewed on a mobile phone. I haven't had like a real productive use case to have a truly responsive app in there. So if anybody has done that, that would be great if there are tips out there. Because at the moment, it's not that native, let's say it like that, to get a great scaling app in your ModelDriven app. So you have to think about it and try around a bit. So this is definitely a challenge. But yeah, I think at the moment it's a challenge. But as I said, Microsoft will make it a lot better. I truly believe in that, and kind of like what they did in the past, it's great. I think just yesterday I saw on Twitter that they fixed the bug where if you have a Canvas app with a flow and deployed it with a managed solution, it would break on importing. So that's fixed now, which maybe it's also enabling you to do a lot of stuff, because I wasn't showing that, but you can use the Canvas app kind of like as a starting point for all your kind of flows to do that. I mean, you have capabilities to do that in the ModelDriven app with the flow integration. With the Canvas app, you can make it a lot more native. So yeah, I think with that, if there aren't any more questions, as I said, I will leave my contact data in the chat in a moment. Please reach out if you have any questions. And yeah, I'm really happy that you joined the show. Thanks for DynamicsCon. Thanks to all the sponsors. I think it's a great conference, especially during these times with the virtual event. I don't know if you saw it in the video. So all the cool editing kind of stuff, that wasn't me, that was DynamicsCon. So a huge thanks for that. I had a great fun doing this. I hope you also got some inspiration and you liked the session. And yeah, hope to speak to you soon and get in contact. And with that, have a nice evening. Have a nice rest of DynamicsCon, and hope to see you soon. Bye.